So we just got the head back from the machine shop. He said it was a little warped, but it wasn't really that bad, but it was enough to have the issue we were having where it was just a little bit of water, or I guess coolant, getting into the oil. He also tapped and drilled out all of my broken exhaust. Well, I guess, yep, they're on this side because it's upside down. Drilled and tapped all my holes for me so I can put studs back in, because I had a few broken off in there and I only had like 5 bolts holding the exhaust on. So I'm gonna get me some new studs so the exhaust will actually be quiet and sealed. About to clean up the block surface, throw the head back on with the new gasket, tighten everything down. It's a little suspect, but it'll be all right. Who cares? Blow all this shit out. I'm not going to run the car just because it still has that watery oil in it. I'm gonna do an oil change tomorrow to flush as much of that shit out as I can. Then I'll run it for maybe 10 minutes, flush it, do another oil change, because I want as much as that milky crap out of here as possible. And as far as the cooling system, we're gonna fill it with distilled water, and then open the drain block right here, the block drain, let it all come out, fill it again with distilled water, let it all drain out, and just try to flush everything out of the system while it's running. And then we'll fill it with coolant after we make sure that there's no water in the oil again. So let's get some of this shit cleaned up and get this head back on. Okay, we got the timing all back together. Cranked it over just to make sure. Only ran it for literally 3 seconds. And opened up the block drain while it was running, and all this shit came out. So closed it back up. We're gonna throw in the radiator and the fan and everything, fill it up with 2 gallons of distilled water just to try to flush everything out. And I'm gonna refill those again with just regular water. Do it all again, flush it all out with that little drain block. Then once we can idle without overheating, if we can do that, I'm not sure if that's even a possibility still, haven't gotten to that point, then we'll throw in the 2 bottles of coolant that I got. But I also got some new studs and bolts for the exhaust manifold and a couple other things. So let's get this shit back together. Well, I can officially say we are done and this is fixed. So, we got the exhaust back on. I painted it black. Got the studs in. I didn't have any of the studs, so I found some bolts to go in place just so I can get the new gaskets in. And it works for now. It's fine, you know. New water pump looks good. We're not getting any more of this milky shit in the oil. It's just straight up oil. So our head gasket issue is gone completely. We are not overheating, so funny thing about that, right? So we thought this motor was overheating, and we thought it was the head, so we had the head resurfaced. And then I thought it was the water pump, so I bought another new water pump for it. And I went out on a limb and I went and bought a infrared thermometer laser gun. And I let that car idle for 10 minutes and then took readings from the thermostat, the middle of the valve cover, the hose, the bottom hose, right there at the water pump, the side of the block. Like, I took readings from every spot on the motor that has to do with cooling, and I got baseline readings from that car. And then we let this one idle for 10 minutes, and the temperature gauge was, of course, fucking sitting at red hot, and I didn't believe it. So I shut it off after 10 minutes, took all my readings, and this car's numbers were within 5 to 10 degrees lower than the blue car. So it was not overheating at all. What ended up happening was the brand new IPD coolant temp sensor for the gauge cluster that sits right under the head, that was bad. I took the one that was off this motor. It was the original Bosch one. I cleaned it up, put it in the car. Immediately, the temp gauge went straight to the midsection, right where it's at for operating temp, and it's been fine ever since. So it was just a bad sensor the entire time. But it's a good thing that we did it because the head was still warped, which was why we were getting coolant in the oil. So at least we have a resurfaced head out of it, and every seal has been replaced. So this motor should go for another 200,000 to 300,000 miles, maybe even 600,000, right? You know, because it's nice. I drove it around last night for pretty much a long time. Went to the gas station, filled it up for the first time, then drove to the car wash, which is about 10 minutes away, drove back, went fine. Revs really fast. It seems, I don't know what it is, but it revs higher, it revs up faster than that car. Maybe because it's a manual, I don't know. But I've never seen a 240 rev up as quick as this does. Like, you blip the throttle and it's already going. There's no lag at all. But anyways, I'm about to pop open the block drain so we can get all this rusty distilled water out. And then we're gonna refill it with water, and I'll probably drive it again for another 10-15 minutes and get that circulated. Drain that. Once it starts coming out clear, then I'll throw in the antifreeze. And I still need to go and buy a belt for the crank to AC, which it's going to be different because this is the Saginaw power steering pump, and you usually use that with the B23 style crank pulley that has the shims in it and stuff. This doesn't have that, so I'm not sure how I'm going to get that belt on there or which size I'm going to need, if they're going to be different at all. I'm probably just going to buy both belts, get it started, and then hand crank the motor, and then just have the belt slip on it, because having no power steering sucks. And also, do I need to get power steering? Yeah, there's nothing in there. We need fluid for sure. Then I'm gonna take it to the car wash and vacuum it out now that it's daytime, which I got a new vacuum, but the one they have there, it's amazing. It sucks. I've never seen a vacuum that sucks that bad. And when I say suck, I mean like the suction, not that it sucks ass. It's terrible. It sucks good. So, great news. Car's runs fine. It's perfect, 100%, no problems at all. And it drifts very well, I will mention that. But I do believe I'm gonna swap the hydras on. So I don't know if we've noticed, but when I got this car, it came with 240DL hubcaps, like those ugly base model hubcaps. And I had those on that car, and I swapped the Schnitzers to the 740. And I found a guy that was willing to trade me some hydras for those hubcap wheels. And I'm gonna put the hydras on this car, and the Virgos are gonna go on this car. No, the Virgos are going on this car, and the Schnitzers are going back on this car. Which I don't know if the Virgos are gonna fit the 740, just because it's a turbo car, and I'm not sure if the brakes are a little bigger or not. But we'll see. Looks like I need to air this tire up a little bit more. So, let's get the rest of this stuff sorted out. Got the power steering working. Got some new wiper blades because it's fucking pouring down right now. I'm up in here. So nice having power steering. I still need to fix the overdrive. I'm not sure what's going on with that. It might just be the relay, because I was trying to tap it and see if it would turn on, but it wouldn't. But everything works great. I've been driving it around all day long and haven't had a single issue. Later on today, when it stops raining, I'm gonna go put the exhaust on so it'll be quiet, because this is very obnoxious. But she's a trooper, man. Loving this car so far. All right, we just got back from the exhaust shop. Got the exhaust welded back on. So we have the cat deleted, the mid-pipe resonator deleted, and we just have the stock muffler. It's still extremely quiet, which is how I want it. I don't want this car loud at all. But right now, I'm just wiring up these 3 gauges because they don't work at all. And this is the only one that works and has the light. So I found a vacuum line, ran it to the boost gauge, so it's just going to be a vacuum gauge pretty much, and it does work. This, I don't think it's going to work because I don't have the proper sender for it, but at least it's just going to light up. We're going to wire up the volt gauge, so that's going to work. I'm not sure what I have to do to get this to work. I don't know if I just plug it into the one that's in the block or if it's like a certain sender I have to plug into it. I'm not sure. But I'm getting all these wires ran, just a ground, the illumination wire, and then a power wire for all of these. So we'll get all this back together. And plus I needed to pull this apart anyway so I could hook up the speedo cable. Well, I think this is going to be the final video for this car, as it's pretty much complete. Just got the hydrants put on, got the new mud flaps put on, the exhaust. So the exhaust is no cat, a straight pipe, and then it goes into the stock muffler. So it's still pretty quiet. I might change that muffler out for like a resonator or something, just to make it slightly louder, but I want it deep and still quiet at the same time, if that makes any sense. But there's still some things we need to do to it. The brakes need to be done extremely bad because the right caliper sticks, and when you hit the brakes, you're pulling hardcore to the right. So brakes need to be done. It needs a new speedometer cable. It needs a new speedometer cable because the one that's in there is trashed. What else? Well, we got the gauges all hooked up. I don't know why this volt gauge has always read wrong. It's reading 16 volts. It's just always done that in every car I've ever had that gauge in. But the boost gauge I just have hooked up to the manifold, the intake manifold, just to run off vacuum. So obviously we're not going to hit boost. And I'm not a fan of that muffler, as you can hear. It's very tin canny and raspy. That's why I want to swap it out for something a little deeper to give it a sort of a rumble. Still got to fix the blower motor. Nothing happens when you do that. What else? We got new wiper blades. Got to fix the window switches because currently only the passenger side front goes up and down. So I'm not sure if it's a switch or the window regulators themselves, because I've taken this out and then swapped the wires and it still doesn't work. So I'm guessing it's the actual regulators. So they all need to be fixed. I got these little carpet inserts off eBay and just glued them in place. It gives a little more texture to the dash. Got the grill speaker up there. Finally bolted down the armrest, so that's nice. Got the power steering working. Everything's pretty much good to go. I mean, I've been driving it for the past few days. No overheating, no issues like that. The 740, I think I'm about to sell that through the Virgos on the 242 for the time being, because the Hydras were on the 242 and I had to swap those, and I wasn't going to swap wheels from 3 cars because I only have so many jack stands and jacks. So I'll swap these wheels and tires eventually, and just going to sell this car because I really have no use for it. I only bought it because I was impulsive and I wanted a manual, and I was waiting on that to get fixed. But now that it's fixed, I don't need or want this car. I still want the motor out of it, but that's going to be too much work. I don't feel like doing after just doing a motor swap. So 740 is going to go bye-bye. 240 is locked, of course. I still have plans for this car. I want to lower it, IPD lowering springs. Put some spacers on the back so the wheel will come out. Got to roll these fenders because I want it flush, but we're going to keep the Hydras on there. And I guess that's about it. I mean, it's just going to be a daily driver. I got to clean the front seats still. I'm missing one center cap, and I had to buy, I bought a set on eBay for like $50, so I'll have that one and a spare in case these ever come off. But I still want to clean these seats. They just got so dirty from me working on this car, getting in and out of it. The backs are clean, but it's just all this is extremely dirty. And I still want to buy the leather covers so I can have leather in the back and leather in the front. Got to get a sunroof seal because it leaks a little bit, and I got to clean all this up again. I believe it's a seal that goes right here. I'm not sure how these sunroofs work seal wise. And I got to scrub all this shit off and buff it. But yeah, man, this is the last video on this car. If y'all want to see all the other stuff I'm doing, just let me know. Other than that, this is probably going to be the last video I make on this channel, or at least until I get another Volvo to restore. But for now, I think I'm done. So if y'all want to see me doing other stuff like lowering it and brake job and shit like that, let me know. I might make more videos, but if the demand's not there, I'm not going to bother with it. But hope y'all liked this series. Super pumped on how this car turned out. Appreciate all the love and keeping me motivated to keep finishing it. But we out.